welcome to our online learning channel. Grade 9, this is our lesson 6, and we are looking at our term 2 work on reading, viewing a text for information. Reading and viewing a text for information. And we are given a text to look at, which is a will and testament. We are going to look at the will and testament quickly on the screen there. How to write your own will in 9 steps. Remember, a will is usually written by someone before they die, and they will be writing it their children or their family, etc. The will and statement on our screen there. I have just put it there for you to see how a will looks like, how a will is written. However, what we are going to use as a text for our activity will not be a will. It will be a text which has more detail so that we can be able to cover our objectives. Our objectives for this lesson are as follows. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to explain the purpose of the text. Number 2, discuss language used. Number 3, identify characters, if there are characters. Number 4, explain the background and theme of the text. And finally, you must be able to summarize the text. Those are our objectives for this lesson. Okay, let's look at our first subheading, reading for meaning and purpose. How do we read for meaning and purpose? Step number 1, skim through the text for general overview of the text. So when you skim through the text, you read quickly through so that you have a general understanding of what the text is all about. Step 2, read the title of the text. For example, the text could be entitled The Final Will of John Potter, if that is a will. Why is it important to read the title and the text of the text? This can give you a cue or a clue to the content and the purpose of the text. So do not ignore the title of the text. Step number 3, identify the author and setting. Identify the author and the setting. Why so? Because it may provide a hint on the language style and background. For example, you look out for such statements maybe below the text as adapted from an article in Fashion Magazine written by Jack Wogan, March 2010. So from reading that, you know where the text is coming from. It's from a magazine, and who has written it? It is Jack. And when was it written? It was in 2010. That information is important. Number 4, step 4, read through the introduction. Read through the introduction because this may provide the atmosphere and characters in the passage or your text. Step 5, read the conclusion. The conclusion may provide the intention of the author or the writer. Those simple 5 steps will help you understand and get the purpose of the text according to the writer. Follow them closely. They will assist you in that manner. Right. Let's look at questions you need to consider when you read the text for the second time. Remember, first time you run through it quickly, and you need to revisit now the text again, reading it slowly, carefully. These are the questions which you need to ponder on. Number one, who is the writer? We have already seen the importance of understanding or knowing who the author is. What is the audience? For whom is it written? What is the intention or purpose of the passage? What is the source of this passage? And how is the writer expressing him or herself in terms of the style and tone? Ask these questions as you read through for the second time. They will help you focus on the important matter of the text. As you go through the text for the second time, you will obviously go through the questions now before you consider answering them. Let's look at the instruction words of the questions and what they mean to us. Number one word, why? The general obvious which we have worked on previously, even from our early primary age. Why? Give a reason or explain. When you see why as an instruction word, then the question will be asking you to give a reason or to explain. What? Identify what it is according to the question. Identify what it is according to the question. How? Describe the manner or the way something happens maybe in the passage, or how someone does something in that text. That is how. Number four, when? Respond according to time. Number five, where? Respond according to place. Where did John go? Then you must tell us he went to the tuck shop, maybe. Number six, quote. When you are asked to quote, you write directly from the passage. Use the same exact words that are in the passage, not your own. Number seven, prove. When you are asked to prove, you need to demonstrate the truth by evidence or argument. Demonstrate the truth by evidence or argument as per the text. Number eight, illustrate. Explain by means of examples. Obviously, you will get your examples from the written text. Number nine, identify. You name and explain. Identify, you name and explain. Number 10, describe. Explain or give a detailed account to paint a picture. If you are to describe your mother, make sure that I may be able to have a clear picture of how she looks like in my mind. So you explain in detail in order to paint a picture. Note there, you will always use your own words when answering questions unless and otherwise you are asked to quote. Only when you quote, you will use the words directly from the passage, but otherwise you have to use your own words that will illustrate your understanding of the text. that is important. Then we are now zooming into answering the questions. Answering comprehension questions or answering questions from the text. Right? Not when you comprehend, it means you understand. Therefore, it's important that when we answer the questions, we understand the text first. First of all, when we look at these questions, they are of different types. Number one, we have factual questions. Generally, they will fall under the who, what, when, or how. Factual questions. Not there, it says the answer is always in the passage. When you are to give factual or when you are working with factual questions, the answer is always in the passage. Number two, interpretative questions. These test your understanding beyond what is clearly stated. They test your understanding beyond what is clearly stated. For example, what does this suggest? What does this suggest? It's an interpretative question because you look at the text and then you come to a conclusion as to what that suggests. Number three, language usage questions. Language usage questions will be on punctuation or grammar. For instance, what is the function of a comma in line maybe 2? So you look at the line and see the function of that particular punctuation mark. Number four, style questions. These are questions around language. For example, what is the style of language in paragraph 2? That language could be formal or informal. Number five, questions about the writer's intention. What is the writer's intention in mentioning whatever could be mentioned in the text? So your answers could be centering around to indicating that it is to educate, maybe to persuade, criticize, or any other intention. Number six, opinion questions. You may be asked to offer your opinion. For example, in your opinion, is the writer's point valid? It could be yes or no, but not you always have to substantiate your answer. You have to substantiate your answer. Give reasons why you agree or you disagree. That is to substantiate. And number seven, summary questions. You summarize the passage in whatever number of words you'll be asked to use. And when you summarize, you highlight the main points. That's the summary question. Let's move on. I have an activity there for us to look closely at what we've been talking about. I will read through the passage or the text. It is a text which is adapted from a magazine in 2010. Teenage period is a time of self-discovery. And many teenagers experiment with different styles before they find the perfect fashion representation of themselves. That is why it is quite difficult to pick a specific style of teen fashion because There are a number of many different styles of clothing to reflect styles of personality. This could be very confusing for teens fashion designers who find it difficult to satisfy the teenagers' needs and wishes. But this is not the case, as, it, as teens like to embrace a certain cultural phenomenon and they want to pertain to a certain gang in their community and they follow the trend which the whole group adopts. That is why to understand teen fashion only must be it only must be there are subcultures or at least the music style they listen to, as music and teens fashion will always go hand in hand. Teenagers are rebellious groups of people who always want to shock the society through their outrageous lifestyles. One may one way of doing that is expressing themselves, making social statements through wearing out of the box clothing. Through the punk scene or the gothic scene of preppy styles to exotic, eccentric fashion accessories. Teenagers indulge themselves during this influential time of their life by trying out different styles of teen fashion. They are able to find the perfect expression of their personality. Right, that is the reading text there on teenagers and them trying to find themselves through fashion. Now let's look at what we need to do when we deal with the questions. Questions will come shortly, but let's look at what we need to focus on when looking at comprehension questions. These are simple techniques. Look at the mark allocation because it will guide you as to how many points or facts you need to include in your answer. Number 2, check if the question requires a full sentence, a phrase, or just a word answer. That is very important also. Number 3, avoid beginning your answer with a conjunction such as because. Number 4, underline question words. For example, why, what. Number 5, number the answers in the correct sequence as the question. This will avoid confusion. Number 6, avoid giving one-word answers unless instructed to do so. And number 7, write neatly and clearly. Those techniques will assist us in answering questions and showing us that we have understood clearly the text or the passage at hand. Let's look at the questions now from the text that I just read to you. Question 1. In paragraph 1, what is the main point that the writer is making about the teenage period? That one is a factual question. As you can see that you need to refer to paragraph 1, and by so doing, you will find the information stated explicitly there. Number 2, why is it difficult for teens fashion designers to satisfy teenagers? That is a question which needs you to give a reason, the why question, and also a factual question. The information is stated there in the text. Number 3, refer to paragraph 2. What influences teenagers' fashion choices? The what question, also a factual question from paragraph 2. You will find your answer there. Number 4, refer to paragraph 3. Teenagers are a rebellious group of people. Do you agree or disagree with the above statement? Provide a reason for your opinion. That is your opinion question. And of course, not clearly stated there. It's all about your opinion and the reasons you give to support your answer. Then number 5, what is the writer's style in this passage? Quote to prove. That is a question on language. So you must be able to identify the type of language that the writer has used. It's not stated clearly there, but you need to be able to deduce what kind of language has been used, and you need to quote to prove that. Number 6, summarize the passage in no more than 60 words. When you summarize the passage, you highlight the main points. Those are the questions from our reading text on teenage fashion. Now let's come to our solution. Number 1, it is a period of self-discovery in terms of fashion. A period of self-discovery in terms of fashion. That would be for 2 marks. Yes, I needed to mention that all our questions carry 2 marks, save for the last question, which carries 5 marks. All questions are for 2 marks. That's what we needed to know prior. Number 2, it is because teenagers are unsure of what they really want. They are still experimenting on different styles. Number 3, subcultures and music styles influence their fashion choices. Number 4, you will credit, or we will credit, a valuable argument. It depends on whether you agree or disagree. But all in all, what is important is for you to support or substantiate your point. Number 5, the language used there is informal, and we can quote, this could be confusing to teens fashion designers. Teens shows us that the language used is informal, and we know that this text is taken from a magazine that already guides our understanding of how the language would be, informal language. I want to highlight a few things before we come to the end or to the close of our lesson. I have put that all in bold or in capital letters so that we remember. Always read the passage carefully and the questions carefully. Reading is an integral part of getting the correct information and answering the questions correctly. Read the passage carefully. We cannot only begin by answering questions before we read. I have seen many people just jumping to answering questions before they read. Point 2, you need to be able to deduce the purpose of the text. It's all via reading and following all the techniques which we have highlighted. And when you answer your questions, highlight keywords or instruction words to the questions before you start answering them, so that you answer the questions directly, so you don't miss the point. Reading and viewing, very important. And we do not only read for understanding at school, but for our outside world. When we go out there, we need to comprehend, understand what other people are saying to us, and we respond accordingly. That is all for our lesson today on reading and viewing. from now till we meet again, good day.